Previously on Toon Talk, the Karens are probably pissed. And now back to the anti-Karen variety hour. And we're starting off with the worst one. Okay, that's okay. The Sponge Who Could Fly, aka The Lost Episode, is easily one of, if not the worst episode from Season 3. The episode is about SpongeBob wanting to fly with the jellyfish. So he tries multiple different ways to fly, but they all end up failing. Eventually, he puts his hairdryer in his pants.
SpongeBob doesn't have hair? Or does he?
And lo and behold, SpongeBob can fly and he can shoot rainbow out his butt. Yeah. This episode does certainly have some nostalgia factor for me, since this was one of the episodes that I watched quite a bit as a kid. But then again, I watched a lot of SpongeBob as a kid. So. But rewatching it for this video, I've come to realize that everyone is so mean to SpongeBob for basically no reason in this episode. SpongeBob just wants to live out his dream of flying with the jellyfish. And here comes everyone in Bikini Bottom being just a huge jerk to him. I mean, to the point where they throw a mob and run him off a cliff. I mean, dear Lord. Just like Party Poopy Pants, the scenes that redeem this episode are the Patchy segments. Basically, Patchy lost the lost episode of SpongeBob, so him and Potty have to go out on a treasure hunt to find it. And this takes up like a good third of the episode. Like, if you took out the Patchy segments, which would be a bit of a mistake because they're the best part, then this episode would just be the length of a regular episode. But I will admit, Patchy's freak out after seeing the fake Lost episode was freaking hilarious.
I'm gonna get rid of all my SpongeBob stuff! All of it! All of it!
Overall, the episode is mediocre at best. If you want to watch the episode, just watch the Patchy segments. Otherwise, just skip it. But hey, who am I to judge? Apparently, Nickelodeon liked it so much they made a stage musical out of it. A stage musical! So, I was originally going to end this segment right there. But I got curious about the musical. So, I decided to look up if there was a full version of the musical online. So I went to YouTube and I searched, I typed in Sponge Who Could Fly full musical. I did not find the musical, however, which is understandable. It's a pretty obscure musical. Right? When most people think of SpongeBob stage musicals, they typically think of the Broadway show. But there's a plus side. Internet's not working on my laptop. I'm going to be reacting to the video. Oh god. I listened to like 10 seconds of the song. Alright. So, we have the SpongeBob SquarePants Live, the Sponge Who Could Fly, the Flying Sponge. Let's see on how this will end up. We shall begin in 3, 2, 1.
Got a nice little 60s tropical vibe, you know, fits with SpongeBob, I guess. Is that supposed to be SpongeBob? Because you nailed it, dude. You nailed it. I don't know. Let's listen.
Totally awesome till I heard a scream coming from someone. I could see right away that she wasn't hurt. Her top was just a few feet from her, but to have to get up.
What? Her top was just a few feet from her. You do realize this is for children, right, SpongeBob? Oh, God.
When I was trying to relax, would have been a bother. Suddenly you appears in a pinch. It's a flying sponge. I don't have to move an inch now. I can talk.
Oh, so that wasn't SpongeBob. Never mind me, I'm a dumbass. Then again, if you've been a subscriber to this channel for a while, then you know that.
Next to the flying sponge. He's one of a kind. He's a daring dude. When he sees someone in trouble, he takes the plunge. He swoops to the rescue. If you've got a problem, you must face sponge. Just call on your super friendly flying sponge.
I'm not a big fan of the lyrics, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of the song at all. 4 minutes. God. Just overall, not. I'm kind of glad that I decided to not watch the full musical. Then again, I couldn't really find it off YouTube. Maybe it's like some around Daily Motion, but it's probably a good thing that when most people think of SpongeBob stage musicals, they typically think of the Broadway show. Because judging by just oh my God, that's Sandy, ain't it? Yeah, talking about just like a minute and a half of this one song. I'm not a big fan, to be honest. So let's move on to the next episode.
The episode is about Gary running away from home after SpongeBob forgets to feed him. But once SpongeBob realizes that Gary has run away, he spends every waking moment of his life from that point forward on trying to find him. Meanwhile, Gary is just trying to find a new owner till he eventually settles with a sweet little old lady voiced by Amy Poehler, who it turns out is actually fattening up Gary so that she can eat him. For lack of a better word, this episode truly is, well, special. It's a very different type of SpongeBob episode that we didn't really see up to this point. Heck, we still don't really see this type of SpongeBob episode to this day. It gives a much more of an emotional reaction, with SpongeBob devastated to the brink of tears, just wanting to see his best friend again. Well, best friend who doesn't speak English. And meanwhile, Gary is just living the life of luxury as he assumes. And SpongeBob is just barely missing him. But the one thing that everyone remembers from this episode, and the moment that brought everyone to tears while watching this, it has to be the song. Oh dear God. Even when I watched this episode for this video, I was nearly on the brink of tears. And the weird thing is that my dad was in the other room, so I almost felt weird crying, but screw it.
Other than pet, you're my best friend, too cool to forget. Come back, 'cause we are family, and forgive me for making you wanna roam.
And now I cry with the song on a much more personal level, considering the fact that now I have my own little lovable little pet to take care of, and she's my responsibility for walks and even feeding. So, watching this episode with my pet in my arms, just laying on me, giving her lovin's, it definitely broke the tears. And even later on in the episode where where Gary was seeing the flyers and when SpongeBob and Gary reunite. And even when SpongeBob is looking at all the flyers and even the giant billboard, asking where's Gary. Me being with my pet and giving her pets, I just had a whole lot more of an emotional reaction. I was nearly on the brink of tears because it was like, what if this happened to my pet? Wouldn't want to lose my my baby. But enough of me rambling on about pets. The episode is very emotional. And aside from the emotional bits of this episode, there actually are quite a bit of funny moments. Overall, I think that it goes without saying is that this is probably the best episode in this marathon and probably the best episode of either the post movie era or even the entire show. I honestly don't know if I would go that far because there are still some season 2 and 3 gems that are so much more funny and a bit more of what SpongeBob is at its core. But I must say that this episode is truly one of a kind, and in fact, it's so good that Nickelodeon decided to pretty much steal the plot of this episode for the plot of the third SpongeBob movie. Oh, now this one's a classic. The episode is about SpongeBob and Patrick heading to a jousting contest, but they end up being part of the joust. And magically, they get transported back to the medieval times. And we get to see tons of characters in medieval versions, such as Squidward as a jester, Mr. Krabs as a king, Sandy as a knight, and Plankton as an evil wizard. And since these are technically different characters, it makes sense to change their personalities up a little bit to better suit the time period. Plus, they take full advantage of their medieval setting. For instance, having a jellyfish be a dragon. That is hilarious. If you were disappointed by something like, say, I don't know, Disenchanted, then I'd say this episode of SpongeBob will suit your medieval fantasy needs in animation quite nicely. I mean, it's no Lord of the Rings, but this is a 20-minute SpongeBob episode, and Lord of the Rings is a 10-hour film trilogy, so what are you expecting? This episode is something that we never get to see in this show, hardly ever. That is a backstory episode. It focuses on Mr. Krabs and Plankton, on how they used to be friends, on how they created the Krabby Patty together, and on how the Patty basically just destroyed their friendship. Meanwhile, the filler bits featured Potty and Patchy going through just about the same thing, with Potty becoming Patchy's boss. But what's funny is that Patchy is just pretty much terrible at making burgers. This episode takes every single minute to its full advantage, with the first half of the episode being focused on how they became friends and how they started making burgers together. And with the second half of the episode being on what eventually destroyed their friendship and the destruction of the friendship from different perspectives. We get how Krabs really remembers it, on how Plankton remembers it, and on what really happened from Karen's point of view. SpongeBob is a show that doesn't follow much continuity, if any continuity, really. A character could just blow up in one episode and be completely fine in the next. That's just how most cartoon comedies tend to work, even today, really. Uh, when we get a backstory episode, which is a rarity, in fact, I think the only other time they ever did a backstory episode was with Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, but when the show eventually decides to do it, it's pretty good. And it makes us appreciate Krabs and Plankton's relationship a lot more. And aside to the relationship that we never even knew before. And it's actually very tragic on how a burger was able to destroy such a wonderful friendship. And what makes it even more tragic, pretty much, is that at the end of the episode, Krabs was willing to become friends with Plankton, but Plankton's evil mind rotted the possibility of them becoming friends again. Overall, the episode is a well written, well rounded, different episode of SpongeBob. And for this being the fifth season, that's incredibly impressive and amazing that the show could still turn out great material this far into the run.
8 down, 20 to go. So far, the majority of the specials that we have seen were pretty good. I mean, sure, there were a few stinkers in there, but I've genuinely had a fun time making this review series. What the hell was that? It's probably nothing. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and in September, you'll get part 3 of Movie Marathon Matt. Oh, what was that? Can't be. I can't. This was the episode that pretty much killed SpongeBob. No, I have to skip it. I have to skip it. You said you were going to watch and review every SpongeBob special. And that includes the 2 Titans of Terror.